There's one exact moment in Breaking Bad where Walt Jr. stops seeing his father as dad and starts seeing him as a stranger. Today, we're pinpointing that exact second. Most people think that moment is obvious. Skyler grabs the knife, chaos breaks out, Walt Jr. finally knows the truth. Clean, simple, one scene, one reveal, but that's not actually it. If you go back and watch that scene frame by frame, the real moment happens earlier, quieter, and it's not even something he says. It's something his body does before his mind even catches up. I've gone back through every scene building up to this moment, the 911 call, the knife, even a line from earlier in the show most people forget entirely. And once you see how it all connects, you'll never watch that scene the same way again.
Stop! Mom, stop it! Stop, Dad! Stop it!
Let's start with the 911 call, because this is where most breakdowns get it wrong. Everyone assumes the moment Walt Jr. picks up that phone, he already knows the truth. He doesn't. Listen closely to the actual words he uses in that call. He's not accusing his father of anything with certainty. He's not delivering a verdict. He's trying to explain, mid-panic, still reaching for some version of events where his father isn't the villain standing in his own kitchen. He tells the dispatcher his dad pulled a knife on his mom. He throws in that he thinks his dad might have killed someone, which, technically, in that exact moment, isn't even something he's certain of yet. That's not a kid stating a fact. That's a kid still negotiating with reality in real time, out loud, to a total stranger on the other end of a phone line, because his mind can't process the truth fast enough to negotiate with itself first. And that's what makes this moment so different from how people usually describe it online. It's not a switch flipping cleanly from one state to another. It's a person mid-collapse, still holding on to the last thread of the story he's believed about his father his entire life, even as his own mouth is already saying the words that will end that story forever. Think about how rare that actually is to catch in a piece of television. Most shows give you the clean turn, the single dramatic line that changes everything in one breath. This scene gives you something messier and far more honest. It gives you the turn happening in real time, while the character is still actively fighting against it, still trying to hold two contradictory realities in his head at once. That's not writing built for shock value. That's writing built for truth. Because that's genuinely how realization works when it happens to real people in real life. It rarely arrives all at once in one clean cinematic moment. It arrives in pieces, mid-sentence, while you're still mentally trying to explain away the last piece that just landed on you. Now here's why that matters so much. And here's the piece almost everyone online skips completely when they talk about this character. To understand how far this kid had to fall in that one moment, you first need to understand exactly how high his trust was built in the years leading up to it. And there's one scene, much earlier in the show, that most people watch once, maybe laugh at, and then immediately forget, but it might actually be the key to understanding everything that happens later. Walt Jr. shows up, unannounced, at his father's apartment after the separation. Walt is a mess at this point, drinking too much, spiraling, barely holding himself together in a cramped, lonely apartment that looks nothing like the home his son grew up in. And in one of the quietest, most easily overlooked scenes in the entire series, Walt Jr. tucks his own father into bed. He rearranges the pillow, makes sure he's comfortable. A teenager, essentially parenting a grown man, because somewhere along the way, without anyone in that family ever saying it out loud, the roles in that house had already started quietly flipping. And right as Walt Jr. turns to leave the room, satisfied his father is settled, Walt, half asleep, barely even conscious, mumbles out two words: "Thanks, Jesse." Not his son's name. Jesse, if you're not paying close attention, you miss this completely. It's delivered so softly, so throwaway, blink and it's gone, that it doesn't even register as a significant moment the first time through. But sit with what that actually means for a second, because once you do, it's hard to unsee. In a moment of real vulnerability, real tenderness, arguably the one instant in the entire series where you'd expect a father, even subconsciously, to register the child standing directly in front of him, taking care of him, Walt's mind goes somewhere else entirely. Walt Jr. isn't even on the map in that moment. And here's the part that connects everything back to that 911 call later in the show. This is exactly why the realization couldn't be gradual for Walt Jr. the way it was for other characters. It couldn't be a slow dawning, built patiently across small suspicious moments, the way it was for Skyler, who had months of tiny inconsistencies stacking up in the back of her mind before she finally confronted the truth. Because Walt Jr. was never given those small moments to notice anything. He was given exactly this instead: warmth aimed somewhere else. Love that never quite landed where it should have. A father who was physically present in the house, night after night, year after year, but emotionally absent in every single way that would have actually let his son see him clearly. And when you're kept that far outside the truth for that long, kept in a fog built out of love with nowhere honest to land, the moment the truth finally does arrive isn't going to be quiet or gradual. It's going to be violent, sudden, and overwhelming, because there was never anywhere gentle left for it to land. Which brings us to the moment that actually matters most out of all of this. Not the phone call, not the quiet bedroom scene. The knife, picture the scene again, slower this time. Walt and Skylar are fighting, physically, dangerously, voices raised, the whole kitchen turning into something unrecognizable, and Walt Jr. steps directly between them, placing his own body as a shield for his mother. Now here's the part almost everyone misses because they're too focused on the yelling happening all around him in that moment. Watch his face closely, watch his hands. He's not calculating anything complex in that half second. He's not consciously thinking, my father is a criminal, my father is dangerous, I need to protect my mother from a man who has been lying to me my entire life. There simply isn't time in that instant for a thought that fully formed and complete. His body moves before his mind can even finish constructing the sentence. That's not a decision made with reasoning behind it. That's pure instinct. And instinct only overrides everything else like that fast, that completely, when something ancient and physical inside a person already knows the truth, long before their conscious mind has caught up enough to say it out loud. That's the actual moment, the real one, if you're being precise about it. Not the line delivered to the 911 dispatcher. Not the shouted accusation. The half second his body decided, entirely on its own, without asking permission from his conscious mind first, that his father was now someone to be blocked, physically, instead of a man to be trusted completely, the way he had trusted him every single day up until that point. Everything that happens after that moment, the yelling, the frantic phone call, the police arriving at the house, that's really just the aftermath slowly catching up to what his body had already understood in a single heartbeat his conscious mind hadn't even processed yet. And once you see it framed that way, it recontextualizes almost everything that happens afterward in the show. Because here's the part that makes this so much sadder than a simple betrayal storyline dressed up in family drama. Walt Jr. doesn't actually stop loving his father in that exact moment. That's not what breaks inside him. What breaks is trust. And those two things, love and trust, are completely different, even though we tend to lump them together whenever we talk about betrayal in stories like this. He can still love the idea of who his father was supposed to be, the man from the birthday parties, the man who taught him to walk again and again through hard years, while simultaneously never being able to trust the actual man standing in front of him ever again. That distinction is exactly why, much later in the show, when Walt tries one final time to quietly get money to his son through Elliot and Gretchen, using them as a clean, untraceable channel, Walt Jr. refuses to even acknowledge where that money came from. That refusal isn't hatred speaking. Hatred wouldn't bother reacting at all. It would want nothing to do with any part of Walt, wouldn't think about him twice. What we're actually watching is something heavier than hatred. It's grief. Grief for a father who, in Walt Jr.'s mind, might have never fully existed the way he had believed for so many years. So when we go back to that exact moment, the knife, the shield, the half-second instinct kicking in before conscious thought could even catch up to it, what we're really watching isn't just a dramatic plot twist designed to shock the audience. It's the physical, visible proof of years spent loving someone who was never fully there to be loved back the way it seemed. His body understood that truth long before his heart was ever ready to admit it out loud. So that's the moment. Not the phone call, not the yelling, not even the knife itself, but that half second before it, when his body already knew what his mind hadn't caught up to yet. We went looking for one clean scene where Walt Jr. finds out, and what we actually found was something messier and way more human, a realization that had been quietly building since a half asleep, thanks, Jesse, finally forcing its way out through instinct because there was never a gentle place for it to land. And honestly, that's what makes Walt Jr. one of the most underrated characters in the entire show. Not because he had the most screen time, but because his one moment of truth says more about Walt as a father than almost anything Walt ever says about himself. If this changed the way you're going to watch that scene next time, let me know in the comments. I want to know if you caught the Jesse line before this. And if you're new here, we're doing a full series like this. Pulling apart the moments Breaking Bad never fully explains out loud. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you in the next video.